Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I ask any questions, I first want to say something to Mr. Lee. I'm sorry you're here today. I've been dealing with you since February of 2019. You've returned every phone call, you've returned every text, you've responded to every email, and you've been drugged down here today to be thrown to the wolves, and you've been the only face we've had in central Louisiana for Suddenlink, and you're not the problem. And I appreciate that you're being thrown to the wolves and that we've got people here that aren't in decision making. That tells me what Suddenlink thinks of Louisiana. This is a legislature. We asked you to come here. We're representative, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of people. And maybe it's not your fault either that you were chosen to come down here. But I bet you couldn't answer questions of why you have so many FCC complaints. I bet you can't explain why people are saying that they're being sold and paying for services, speeds that your equipment can't even accommodate. I bet you can't answer that. You can't tell us what your plan is for restoring power in Rapides Parish, can you, sir? I'm talking to you, not Mr. Lee.
Again, you would need to talk to Mr. Lee about that because he's on the ground implementing that plan.
Okay. Is there a written plan? Is there a map? I know when CLECO went out, they spent 3 days assessing a much bigger area than just Rapides Parish. And they had a plan. And they called us in and said, this is what we're going to do. We have a priority list, but in addition to that, we have a map. We are going to restore here and here and here and here. And do you know we had power at 100% in Rapides Parish within about 10 days. So to blame, and Mr. Lee, I'm sorry, but I have to echo what the senator said, to blame any other utility for the absence of the ability to restore my people's cable is a poor excuse. I noticed yesterday that Suddenlink, or Altice, has offered $7.8 billion to acquire a company in Canada. So they got money. They got money. My people are still not able to go to school, a large number of them, because some of our schools aren't up, because they're not able to access it from their homes. I've got this morning a phone call from an elderly man crying on the phone. And this ain't made up. I'm telling you, this has a face on it when I talk about no ability to use the service. His wife's in the nursing home. The only way he can contact her is by telephone. They don't have cell service. He couldn't talk to his wife who has dementia. And he wants to know why his state representative can't do anything about it. I understand why your CEO may not have been here by Wi-Fi. I suspect he doesn't have any more confidence in the ability to deliver a cable service to him than we do. And I don't understand it because you know what else? It seems as though your prices, Suddenlink, are higher than other people. Yet the services are less. And you know what's even worse? Those same people we heard about a minute ago who are in the hot, that are sweating, whose kids can't go to school, who can't talk to their mother or wife in the nursing home. You know what they got in the mail twice in the last week? Would you like to know? Was it a letter from your CEO apologizing for the poor service? No, that wasn't it. You know what it was? It was asking if they wanted to sign up for more of the great services of Suddenlink for only an additional $15. I'm guessing you didn't get a lot of return mail on that. I want to know as we sit here right here, because I came from Alexandria. We have people that came from other parts because we were told Suddenlink was going to be here to answer our questions. Is there a strategic plan to get restoration not only to Calcasieu, which I'm very concerned about, but Rapides Parish, not at 80%, not at 85%, but at 100%? Is there a strategic plan that has a date of completion? Anybody that wants to answer?
There is a plan. There's not a date because it's impossible to project an exact date. If I could I have just a minute? 'Cause-
You answered my question. I'll let you come back to it a second because I got something you may want to include in this.
Okay.
Why are people having to wait? Or maybe you're the corporate guy. What is the average wait time for someone trying to make a call into the call center? Do you know that?
As a result of these two storms, it's a lot longer than it
How
should
long?
be. I'm not sure the average.
How about if somebody told me almost 2 hours?
As an average?
That's the ones that are calling me.
That's
If
an
if one is too many. I don't know if it's an average. I asked you for the average.
I'm not sure what the average is. We can certainly track that down for you.
Why are they talking to people in a large number of times? You mentioned Lubbock and Texas and North Carolina, and I'm not in any way disparaging anyone, but I'm getting a large number of people calling me, telling me that the person on the other end of the service call is someone that speaks in a dialect, in a language that would indicate they're not in America. Do your call centers outside of the United States also?
I believe we do have one call center outside the United States.
My folks in Pineville who speak perfect English can't understand a lot of them. And it's very frustrating once they get on after 2 hours of waiting. And guess what they do then? They schedule appointments. Did you know that? Did you know that that's what happens?
That is correct.
Yeah. Well, scheduling an appointment and keeping appointment apparently is two different things, because I've got mamas and daddies who are taking off work because of the assurance of the corporate Suddenlink, and nobody's showing up. Do you know what else? They're not calling and tell them they're not going to show up. And you know what happens when they call back after 2 hours to try to talk to someone? They're told they're not even in the system. Now, how is that a hurricane's fault? How's that the utility's fault? How's that anybody's fault but a company who can spend another $8 billion to acquire another company? Who else do we blame for that?
I would at least add, though, that certainly, sir, you would acknowledge that a hurricane would result in longer hold time.
Sir, let me tell you the honest truth. Me and Mr. Lee have been talking since February of 2019. He was nice enough to help get us some expansion and some upgrades in a portion of our area. But the same complaints I'm telling you right now, I could have had this same conversation with you on August the 20th.
Well, Mr. Representative, you and I have actually been talking since February of 19 about the three communities in which you reached out to us.
Yes, sir.
And I believe we paid special attention to expediting your progress in your area to get that done
Yes, sir.
in those needed areas.
They don't have Suddenlink.
Colin does not have Suddenlink?
Well, Colleen does, yes, sir. They did before the hurricane.
DeVille doesn't have Suddenlink?
Yes, sir, they do. I thought you were referring to Poland and Echo, which y'all would not service.
Well, again, you brought to our attention, sir, these three communities that desperately need it. In fact, I remember
You get a check mark for that. Thank you so much. Now, would you hook them back up?
As quick as we can and as safely as we can. Yes, sir.
What about the problem people are having with paying their bills? Are you aware? I asked Mr. Lee, it'd be a really nice thing if Suddenlink would give a credit to the people for the outages. And of course they moved it up, and they came back and said, yeah, we're going to do that. And we even sent out an email to our Suddenlink customers, and here's a link. Do you know what happens when you click on that link to Suddenlink?
I hope it offers you a chance.
No, sir, it doesn't offer you anything about a credit. You know what happens when you call the call center to ask about your credit? You know what they tell you? We don't know anything about it.
I suppose that we have found an instance where that has happened that's been brought to our attention.
Sir, I'm telling you, I'm not under oath. I didn't fill out a card like you did, but I'm telling you for a fact that I've got 100 emails. I'm getting 100 emails or more a day, many of which Mr. Lee is getting from me and that he's operating on. So I don't know about one or two. I'm giving you look at me and know that I'm telling you the truth, that there is widespread, the worldwide spread, that applies here. People are getting billed for services they're not getting the credit you provided after the fact. They're having situations where the crews are hooking up on 201 Main Street and 202 Main Street doesn't have service, so they got to do the route, and people not coming out when they said they're coming out. I understand this isn't, you got thrown to the wolves too, but shame on Suddenlink and Mr. G or whoever your CEO is for taking hard-earned money from good, hard-working people in my district, and A, before the hurricane, not giving them the service they were paying for, and B, not coming to the rescue and taking care of putting their poor service back into action. Do you know how many competitors you have in my district, sir?
I do not know.
Okay, you got one small section of AT&T. You know what one of the main requests from my people is? Could you please find a way to get someone else here? Clico got up in 10 days. Why Suddenlink can't do that in 22, and I don't know. And to misrepresent when you're going to help people, to represent services that they're paying for that I believe somewhere down the line we're going to be able to show you that your equipment can't even facilitate is negligence at least and fraud at worst. And I'm sorry that you don't have all the information. I'll be there. Unfortunately, it won't be televised. It won't be a committee. There won't be a card sign that says you swear to tell the truth when we meet in Lake Charles. That's what today was for, and I guess that may be why you were sent. But the people in District 27 in Central Louisiana are not pleased. They like Mr. Lee, if that's of any consequence. But they don't like Suddenlink, and it's not because they're not a caring group of people. They've been misled, misrepresented, and neglected. And it's a travesty to do this to young people, old people, and poor people, because that's who it's affecting the most.
Thank you, Representative Johnson. Representative Johnson, I got one better than yours. I got a constituent that after, I'm not sure how long they had to be on hold, finally got through to a service representative, admitted that she was outside of the United States, and said, we have no record of a hurricane anywhere. So please, Madam Customer, take pictures of your damage, send them to Suddenlink, and we will consider your request. Now that's a true story, ladies and gentlemen.
Senator, if I could just add, you and I, as we spoke about that yesterday, I do want you to know that we immediately looked into that. That is, we're trying to, if you could provide me offline here the consumer and the time of the call and the information, we'll gladly track it down, because, you know, all calls are recorded, and we certainly, that is absolutely not the policy of this company, and I don't know why that happened. Let me just add, though, sir, that they took action across the company, talking to care agents today to correct that issue and just to reaffirm with all the care agents that is not the policy, and to indeed get them up to speed on efforts.
I appreciate that, but it actually happened. So,
well, I understand that if you say it happened, sir, I believe
it did.
I'm just saying the response to it.
It did.